Hey everyone, this is Chris, Ministry on the Move. We, the McNeils, this week found ourselves in the little community of Blue Grove, which is, I guess, east and south of Wichita Falls, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty close to our backyard, not entirely, but the interesting thing is that the church is new, but the pastor is not. So Dr. Paul McQuery is the pastor here, and for those of you that have been with Ministry on the Move for any length at all, you'll recognize him as being a guest that we had on in season 2. So, Paul, thanks for agreeing to double back on another interview with Ministry on the Move and having the McNeils to Blue Grove.
My honor, my pleasure. I enjoyed doing this last year when you came to Valley Grove in Stephenville last year, and I can always talk. That's not a problem. I'm a preacher. I can talk all, But yeah, and of course having y'all was a no-brainer. It's something I definitely wanted to do when we moved. Actually, when we moved here, I think it was my son, but one of my kids said, "Are we going to get the McNeils to come?" And I was like,
awesome.
I'll reach out and see if we can.
Beautiful.
And it worked out perfectly.
Oh, that's crazy. When we started this. We will celebrate our 12th anniversary as a group in August.
It's awesome.
And when we started this, I never thought, not in a million years, that we would have any kind of influence at all on young people.
Right.
I figured it would be the 50 and over crowd.
Sure, yeah.
Our music is not edgy enough for the young people per se. We're not a Brandon Lake group. We cover some of his songs, but they're softer, right? They're not, and we don't play in stadiums the size of that or whatever. But I have been constantly amazed at the number of young people that have come up and pointed to my children for or some of the songs that we sang. I had one of them that lost their dad in the middle of something, a song that I had sung. It's been amazing to me to see the influence that even older adults can have on younger kids, and that is a thing of beauty I did not see coming when we did this. So I appreciate hearing that story very much. It's an encouragement.
My 15-year-old son, who is sports and basketball galore, he has on his Spotify playlist, he has a whole like Gaither section on Spotify play. He loves Southern gospel music.
Yep.
And I'd guarantee you y'all are a large part of that. Wow. Exposing, of course, I'll pull stuff up on YouTube and watch David Phelps and watch old Gaither stuff, Michael English, and all that. But I guarantee y'all had a huge influence on his liking, Southern gospel music.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's great.
It sounds fun. Those guys were kind of my idols growing up in a lot of ways, at least within the Christian context they were, and so it sounds funny to be in the same
breath,
same sentence as them. Yeah,
I accept it, man. Live it up.
Yeah. Well, God's been good. So I'm interested because I don't really know the story.
Yeah.
So, you were the senior pastor in Stephenville. Valley Grove. And we've sung there. We actually sang there before you were the pastor. I
think like maybe the year before or maybe 2 years before.
Okay.
But when I got there in January 21.
Yeah. That we would have, because we sang there pre-COVID.
Yeah. So our music minister said, "Hey, we have this family that comes. I can't remember. They've come once or twice. I can't remember which. And would you want to have them again?" And I was like, "Are they good?" And he was like, "Oh no, they're fantastic. Really, Rob really, praised y'all." And I said, "Absolutely. Let's get it together and see when we can do it." And I want to think that was in January, and I want to think y'all came like in March or April. I mean, it was in the spring.
Yep.
And so I'd only been there for a couple of months whenever y'all came.
Still under the honeymoon period there.
If you ever get one, No, but yeah, absolutely. I was still brand spanking new,
right?
And so that was really my first exposure to y'all was then, and then we had y'all every year that I was there.
Yeah. And so, and that was a relatively, I would call it a medium-sized church.
Yeah, it was.
The sanctuary seats 400. 300?
Yeah, about 400 if you pack them in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when we sing there, there's, I don't know, 140, 160, 180 that come hear us, which is a good medium-sized church.
On a Sunday night.
Yeah, that's a good point. Fair point.
So on Sunday morning, we'd have 250
right
or so on Sunday morning. Yeah.
Yeah, and we always sing there do we always sing there on a Sunday evening?
When I was there.
Okay, I can't remember. It's not that I was questioning anything other than my ability to remember what I had for lunch last week.
I got you. It's fair.
Okay, so then you moved to Blue Grove. I keep wanting to say Blue Ridge because that's right next to my hometown, or our hometown where we live now. And it's, I mean, we haven't even done the concert. We'll worship with you guys in the morning, and so I'm asking out of total and complete ignorance. But I think you mentioned earlier that it was a smaller congregation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my dad asked the very question, how many y'all average since you've been here?
Okay.
We came here in August. August 10th was our first Sunday.
Right.
And when I went back and looked, it was about 65 or so was our average. I mean, we'll have some Sundays where we're like 86 and some Sundays we're at 40, you know?
Yeah, sure.
So, you know, so I think we settle somewhere around probably, we have more Sundays that are in the 60s than any other number.
Right.
I'll put it like that.
And we're talking attendance, not temperature.
No. Yeah, attendance.
So I tell people if you'll take Easter Sunday, and then the Sunday so that's high attendance Sunday.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then the next Sunday, which I call low attendance Sunday, and you average the two together, that's probably what you get for the rest of the year.
That's fair. That's probably fair, yeah.
Okay, so I think it's a very honorable thing to press into, and I'm curious. You know, every pastor ever probably has at least entertained the notion that I'm going to start with a congregation of 40, but by the end of the time that I'm there, it's going to be 4,000 people.
Yeah, sure.
But then the reality of the occupation sets in, and maybe you move from 40 to 50, or maybe you move from 40 to 100, but rarely do you go from 200 or 160 down to 60 or 65 or 80. You've cut it in half.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, walk me through the process. Tell me about the thoughts that went through your mind. Did they approach you? Was it family related? I mean, there's other. I think anybody who's been in the ministry long enough knows that you're not in it for the money.
Yeah.
The calling is much larger than the number of rears and seats. The maturity is not a definite. Growth and maturity are not the only are not only functions of quantity,
right?
But they are quality. But I think every pastor ever has kind of raised an eyebrow when you put the thought to them, "Hey, you're going to go to a church that's going to downsize you." So I'm going to let you take that where you will, but I'm very interested in this story. No,
that's great. I'm unconventional. We talked about that. Well, no, this is a true story. And I'm not saying that my move here is a direct result of this, but even when I was a youth minister, I'd got my master's degree, and I was like, I never want to go to school ever again. Okay,
sure.
And then I serve under a pastor who has his doctor of ministry, and he talked a lot about how wonderful the experience was to get a doctor of ministry degree. And so I was thinking, you know, and I was meeting people and going to camps and conferences and conventions and everything. I met a lot of people who had master's degrees, and I said, you know what? I'm a dime a dozen having a master's degree.
Sure.
But I don't know a whole lot of people that have doctorates. And so I thought, if I want to be unique, I need to get a doctorate. And so that's kind of something I've always thought. I need to be unique, and not just for the sake of uniqueness, but because I want to stretch myself, and I want to be my best for God, for the calling that He's given me. And that's what I want to do. And so I went back to school. I got a doctorate because I had the ability, I had the availability to do it. So I might as well, right? If God has gifted me to do that, I should do it. And plus, it'll make me unique. And so I completed that process. It was great going through all that. And when I did, I finished it in May of 2020 and walked in August of 2020 because COVID,
right.
you know. And it was in January of 21 that God moved me from a wonderful church in Graham, Texas, Bethel Baptist Church, which was a highlight of my life being there. It was great, a small church, but it was a church that called me because they're about to die. And they said, "You're our last hope." You know, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan, yeah, I was going to ask, do they call you Obi-Wan?
That's right. So we went there, and the church is still doing great, you know. And so we moved to Stephenville, and everything's going great there. And
before you get too far into this story, I want to insert a parenthetical comment.
Sure.
If anybody is interested, I think I remember this right, but we talked at length on the last in the season 2 podcast about what you did for your doctoral dissertation, if I remember right.
Yeah, we did.
It had to do with visiting church members, and
who had re-enlisting formerly active members of Bethel Baptist Church in Graham, Texas.
Okay, yeah.
And the whole process was visiting, calling, writing letters to people who we went through our church roll. If they have been basically inactive in our church for 6 months or longer, and we gauged that by attendance in worship service or Sunday school and giving. So that eliminates homebound people who still
gave.
Yeah, still gave
because they had some telemetry to it.
Exactly,
yeah.
They had a connection to the church still. So that's how we gauged it, and it was a fascinating because we got to see we had people who had died. We took off we had people who were in prison.
Yeah.
We had people that had moved to Virginia and elsewhere, and we just didn't
know.
Either they haven't joined another church or that church doesn't practice membership the way that we did, where we sent letters and received letters from people for church membership. And so that's kind of the way that worked out.
Right.
That's what and it was a really fascinating process. And we got to minister to people who were about to die. They'd been inactive for 30 years.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So it was a really...
And we went into that, I think at length.
We talked about it for a while, yeah.
There was a whole podcast. Anyway, I just wanted people to be reminded that it's in season 2. Paul McQuery. I don't remember the title of the episode off the top of my head.
We talked about revival because we're about to have revival services.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I remember that. So I think maybe revival had part of it in the title. I can't remember.
That was one of the 2. I'd forgotten about that. We may come back to the subject of revival here.
Sure, great. I'd love to. I love that. Good subject.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So you were telling the story. If you see a fork in the road, take it. I did that. I'm sorry. So you were talking about the progression.
Yes.
You were just about to be at Valley Grove, or you just moved to Valley Grove.
Yeah. So January 21. It's when we went there, and in November 20 is whenever we went to a view of a call, and January 21 is whenever we started, first Sunday in January, whatever that was. But I went there, and it was a great experience. It was wonderful for my family, wonderful for me. We got to take the church from just coming out of lockdown, basically, just a couple of months before, into starting back ministries and seeing where we need to go. And by the time we left, our attendance was up, our giving was higher than it had ever been. By any measurable gauge, people would say that was a success in ministry. They even, whenever I announced to the deacons that I was going in view of a call to come here, the deacons said to a man, our church is we are better now than we were before you came here, which is really what you want to hear as a pastor.
Sure.
I'm
curious. I don't know that I've ever asked this question before, and it's in the work world, you would never tip your hand about hey, I've got a long lunch, you would say.
Yeah, right.
I need to run an errand, and you go interview on the other side of town or whatever. But I guess Sundays are kind of hard to come by.
Correct, yeah.
And you're probably not... Is it common practice for a guy to say, hey, I'm going to preach in view of a call in another church?
So...
Do you know?
Well, yes and no. So the way... You have to tell somebody why you're gone. Mm-hmm. You know... Because you're just not showing up one of the 52 days that people see you.
Right. You only work an hour a week anyway.
Right,
so, yeah.
So, the way I look at it is, I'm not the boss. The personnel committee is the boss.
Okay.
And the church at large is the boss. Mm-hmm. So the way I handle it, and now I'll run through this, but the way I handle it typically was to tell the personnel committee and then to tell the deacons and to let them know, here is this that's happening. I've accepted the invitation to go in view of a call. And the way I do it is I've set a parameter. If I don't have this much percentage yes, then I'm not coming. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not going to fight a battle.
I'm not going to walk in your enemy.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, sure.
And
that's at the church that you're going to.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And this one here, I want to think I said 95%. Mm-hmm. And in a smaller church, one person can undo a lot. Now, it was a unanimous vote.
Yep.
I want to think it was the same at Valley Grove. I think I said 95% for them too. But anyway, when I was at First Baptist Happy, as the first church I served as a pastor, I talked to the personnel committee and the deacons and asked them, what do I need to do as far as communication to the church? Do I just need to tell them I'm going to be gone, going on vacation?
Right.
And they said, no, you need to tell the church that you're going to view of a call. Mm-hmm. And so the week before, I told the church, this Sunday, I'm going to view of a call to Bethel Baptist Church in Graham, Texas, and to be their pastor. And I don't know what God's going to do. God may say no. Mm-hmm. And I would just need you to pray for me and my family as we could walk through this process. And that's what I did there. But at Bethel Baptist and at Stephenville both, I only told the deacons and the personnel committee. And then, because the thing is, if God says no, you need a ministry to come back to.
Preferably.
Yeah. And so I try to keep things very hush-hush about that, except for the people. And then I tell the people, I said, this is confidential. Personnel committee, deacons, and I need you praying for me and my family that we make the right decision.
So it sort of dawns on me that there may be people listening to this that are not necessarily Baptist in their polity.
Of course, yeah.
So I'm going to take just a brief second and sort of explain the process as I understand it, and you can correct it in gaps that I've got in here. But the idea would be that either you've made your resume known to churches, or somebody knew of you or heard of you, and they may have even sent a search committee to come listen to you. And that's always a weird thing when there's 10 people that show up visiting from the same church down the road. That's kind of
it's a
tip, right? But then presumably you're going to have an interview process where you're going to go sit down with the personnel committee and you're going to talk about, well, how would you handle this? And what are your views on these theological doctrines? And you're not going to lead our kids astray on the sovereignty of God or whatever it is that's bothering them, infant baptism or what the issue is. And then their personnel committee is going to make a recommendation to the church to bring a pastor in view of a call. In other words, you're going to come there on a Sunday and you're going to preach, not with the idea that you are their new pastor, but as it's a dry run, right?
Yeah.
This is what I sound like. I get a chance to meet you. You're going to hear my heart. I'm going to sort of give you put my best foot forward. You get to see and meet my family. And then you would go away and the church would then vote on whether or not to make you an offer. I don't know what is there a what's the term? They would extend
to call you.
Yes.
Yeah.
To actually call you as their pastor. Thank you for that clarification. And then you would sort of work out with your church what the leaving process would look like. Do you have vacation? Do they owe you any money? Do you need to stay 2 weeks or 2 months?
Right.
That would all sort of be worked out during that time. Okay, so did I miss anything? Is that kind of how the process works?
Yeah. And that's pretty. I mean, the 3 churches I've served as pastor previous to, well, and this one too, Happy, First Baptist Happy, Bethel Baptist Graham, Valley Grove, Stephenville, and here all had elected a special committee called a search committee.
Yep.
That was separate from the personnel committee. Now there may be a member of the personnel committee on the search committee, but it's not comprised solely.
Good call out.
No, some churches do. So like, for instance, I know in Happy and in Graham, whenever we hired youth ministers or youth and music ministers, we used the personnel committee for that. We didn't elect a special committee. In Valley Grove, we did elect a special search committee for our youth minister search, and as well as missions and college minister search. But yes, search committee is what they use for me. That's a long way of saying that. But pretty much everything else was dead on. That's exactly how it worked.
So then I want to ask another question, and I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to tease out this whole process, but I want to learn a little bit more about it.
Sure.
How does a pastor leave a congregation well?
Oh my gosh. That's going to depend on the congregation. You have to know your people. And you have to be honest with them. And you have to work with leadership, whether that is other staff members, the deacons, committees, and you kind of have to work with them to communicate well. So back in the summer, so we came here in view of a call in was it July or June? Last part of June. I can't remember the date. I have it on my phone calendar. That way I'd remember to show up. But we
that's not your best foot forward if you miss the in view of a call sermon, is it?
You might not get voted in if you show up to the wrong church on that Sunday morning.
It wasn't today?
Oh.
It was last week. That's terrible.
So
that's funny.
I wonder if that's ever happened. I'd be interested.
Set your alarm, didn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, tell my wife. That's the same difference. So anyway, you communicate. This is what's happening here. Pray for us during this time, and that's what I did. We came in view of a call. We preached. Had the invitation. Actually, had the family come join the church.
Oh, really?
Yeah, here. The Sunday I came in view of a call.
Sunday you were in view of a call.
Yeah, so they came forward, and I'm like, I'm not your pastor yet. I don't have the right to present you, so I had to call over one of the deacons to then present them to the church, as new members. It was really funny. But, I mean, so anyway, we're actually in the parsonage measuring things whenever I got the text from our search committee chairman that said, "Hey, yeah, you've been voted in." I said, "What was the percentage?" He goes, 100%. I was like, "Okay, well, I guess we're coming then."
Right.
So I go back and I communicate with the chairman of the personnel committee, with our staff at Valley Grove, and with the deacon chairman that I was voted in 100%. We're taking the offer to come and to be called as the pastor. And then I go back and we start talking to people. I go out to lunch with a couple of people. I sit down with the staff in staff meeting, tell them here's how it went. Here's how this needs to go from this point forward. The hard part of that with the staff, there were several. I mean, they're good people, but we had just hired a new missions and college minister like a month before.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while we're going through that process with him, as far as calling him and going work in the committee. I know the search committee here is talking to me. Mm-hmm. I just have to keep everything quiet because what if
you have to have that firewall, right?
You do. You have to serve where God's put you.
Yep.
And my mantra has always been this, and I can't remember if I heard this from a pastor, if I came up with it. I doubt I came up with it. But my mantra is always, you are where you are until you're not. Mm. And so, I mean, I'm doing, I can't remember if I did a funeral or not I think I did a funeral at Stephenville while I was in the process of moving. I go and visit people in the hospitals. I handle, because I'm their pastor until I move here.
Yep.
And so even if I'm packing my boxes, in my office, I'm still the pastor.
Yep.
So you just still love on the people. You're still their pastor until you move. Mm-hmm. And, and the thing is, and it happened from Graham to Stephenville and from Stephenville to here, I had over a month, where I was a lame duck.
Yep.
But I'm still their pastor.
Uh-huh.
So I come and give a call here. I get accepted. I go back. I communicate with everybody. I'm announcing this Sunday that I'll be moving in a month and a half, essentially. And they said, that's great. Whatever you need to do. And so I preached the sermon. We had somebody join the church that Sunday? We did. We had a family join the church that Sunday that I announced.
Knowing that you were now leaving.
No, they didn't know yet.
Oh my goodness.
So, because I hadn't told anybody.
Yeah.
So I preached the sermon. We have our invitation. We do have somebody come join the church. And, which, because and you're like, oh man, hope they still stay here after.
Could you put this off 1 week?
Yeah.
Right.
Or a month and a half.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
at least to know.
To know. Yeah. Make your decision.
Right. Yeah. With
full knowledge.
Yes.
So, anyway, after that's, we vote them in as a member, and then I go to, I ascend the platform once more. And sometimes I have a prepared statement that I read. Mm. I can't remember if I did this time or not, but I told the church, last week, y'all noticed I was gone, and I thanked our youth minister who preached for me. Mm-hmm. I watched your sermon. You did a great job. Thank you for filling in for me. The reason why I had to fill in was not because I was on vacation, but because we went to Blue Grove Baptist Church, which is 30 miles outside of Wichita Falls, in view of a call for me to be their next pastor. And it goes, a gasp.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to play up the drama. I'm just trying to tell you kind of how it worked out.
Yeah, sure.
But then I told them, listen, this is a smaller church than Valley Grove. And we, sorry, I'll make sure we don't have fine. Weather going on.
Please do.
Okay.
It's easy for me to edit this. I've already marked it.
So, yeah, apparently we're in a tornado warning.
Warning?
Mm-hmm.
Here?
That's what it says.
Okay.
Dateline, Blue Ridge, Texas. We interrupt this episode of Ministry on the Move to inform you that Chris and Paul were not harmed in the recording of this podcast. A tornado did touch down, but no one was injured. Chris took his family and the bus 30 miles south, where they waited out the storm and returned to the church the long way around.
A few moments later.
Okay, so let me just pick up from there.
Yeah, if you want, that'd be great.
Okay, so the last thing I said was 30 miles out of Wichita Falls, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so everybody kind of nodded along with what I was saying, and then I told them that the vote was unanimous, and since the vote was unanimous, I really believe that's what God is leading us to do. That's a pretty significant.
Strong indicator.
It is a strong indicator. Yeah, exactly. And, everybody kind of nodded along, and there was a lot of encouragement from people that, you got to follow what the Lord's telling you to do. And there were some tears. Some people were upset. I had one guy who's a really good guy, and we still keep in touch and everything. He's like, man, I don't know if I want to hug you or hit you, because he and I had done a lot together, especially with men's ministry.
Right.
And we got a really strong men's ministry going there at Valley Grove, and especially by that time. But, I went through that. And then and I told him the date that would be my last Sunday. And from that point, I just worked with the church, with the staff. I had conversations with the music minister, saying, here's, from this date, here kind of things you need to keep up with the youth minister too, because he had been there for a couple of years by that point, asking him, hey, if you can share responsibilities with, the music guy, that way it's not all on his shoulders, even though he has tenure. He's been there for 12, 13 years now. Rob has.
Yep.
And so, there's a lot of trust built up because he's done such a great job and he's been there. But I wanted to make sure that not everything fell on his shoulders. Now, after I left, I have no idea what happened, but
right.
So there are things like that I try to take care of to walk people through that process. And then, of course, with the deacons, I told them, the next deacons meeting, I sat down and I said, here are some things that I do that nobody else does. Hospital visits, checking on people, especially shut-ins, staff meeting. I know that the staff can handle that, but, maybe one of y'all wants to be there every so often so that everybody knows what's going on.
Right.
Different dynamics with personalities that I managed that people needed to know about, and so you walk with the leadership through things like that. With the church membership, again, like I said earlier, my philosophy is you are where you are until you're not. And I'm their pastor until I become these people's pastor.
Right.
And so I do everything the same. All the while I'm trying to manage Blue Grove over here because I'm moving to here. And so they have questions for me.
Sure.
And
you've got to pack, you've got to move, you've got to
sell a house.
Your family.
Yeah. See, and that's another cool thing about this was we had to buy a house. I've been in parsonages since I became a pastor. I bought a house in Slayton, Texas, right outside Lubbock in 2007. We sold that one in 2009. Or was it 2010? 2010 when we sold it, and which was a horrible time to sell a house, by the way. I don't know if you remember.
I don't.
You remember the economic situation with the housing crisis and everything?
Yes, I do. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac had sort of bleh.
They totally messed
Wet
up.
the bed, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. And I had to sell a house during that.
Wow.
So that's the last time I had a house. I had a parsonage from 2010 till 2020. I'd been in a parsonage, and so we had to buy a house. But the nice thing is, it was the flip opposite of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac when I sold the house.
Right.
Because we sold it for more than we bought it for this time.
Yeah.
But that whole thing was, so I started talking to Blue Grove. They got in touch, the search committee got in touch with me in December, of 2024. And we talked a little bit here, a little bit there, but we had all these breaks where we didn't even communicate with each other. And so I'm like, do they still want me or they moved on? And this guy calls in April. He calls the church office and he says, hey, do y'all have a church member who lives out, River Hills Road? And they say, yeah, our pastor does. And he said, oh, okay. Because that house, whenever it was built, we wanted it. But then it got sold. And so can you give him our number? And so the secretary says, this guy called about your house. I was like, what about it? I think he wants to buy it. I was like, well, it's not for sale. And so I called him and he told me that same thing. And he said, if you ever want to sell it, call me. And I was like, okay, I don't have any plans on selling it.
Yeah.
Because again, I'd talked with the search committee here, but it's been a long time since I heard from them. And I was like, well, we're not moving. I mean, that's fine. That's great. We'll just serve here. I mean, what's the problem? but I kept his number.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, guess I'll just keep his number. Well,
so this is in the Stephenville area.
This is in Stephenville.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry. So anyway, June comes. I announce that I'm leaving, and so I call this guy up, and I said, "Hey, I don't know how you knew, but we're actually going to move, and so we're going to sell the house." And he's like, "Well, how much you want for it?" I said, "Well, here's the realtor's number. You know, I'm not
sure. I'm not getting in the middle of that."
And our realtor was a member of the church.
Huh.
She and her husband had joined the church like 2 years before.
Yeah.
And I mean, like the top realtor in the state. I mean, one of those. She wins all the awards.
Yeah, right.
So she did a great job. And we sold the house while we were on vacation. So here's the timeline. We announce we're moving. We go on vacation the very next week. Okay. Mm-hmm. While I'm on vacation, I sell the house.
Oh my gosh.
You know, wow. And so it's just these things just worked out perfectly. And, you know, God's hand totally in all of it. And that was one of the things that some of the members at Valley Grove, are you having trouble sell the house? It's much the opposite. So we never even had to put it on the market.
Yeah.
And like, really? And they're like, wow, I guess this is God's handiwork. I was like, well.
Okay. So let me throw, I want to twist this here for just a second. Because I think, I'm beyond any shadow of a doubt, it sounds like the Lord affirmed your decision.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. But I want to back up just a little bit, because there's this, I think, at least for me, and maybe there's others like me, who think about the way that things ought to work. Mm-hmm. And Lord, I really need a sign.
Yeah.
Because this is a big step. You're taking, and I don't want to lose sight of this. You went for, basically the congregation got cut in half, if not more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, about a third. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you look at that?
Or a quarter, actually. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. I mean, it's significantly smaller.
I'm slow at math. So.
Well, you've come to the right place.
Yes, to your point.
So, yeah, who in the right mind looks at that and goes, "Oh, well, that's God calling me to downsize by 75%."
Sure.
Jeremy Eden is the pastor at North Bay Fellowship in Ingleside, Texas. Mm-hmm. And he said something on the podcast that has become the landing page on my Facebook page for Ministry on the Move. He said, I'm going to quote it: "If you want to prove to yourself that God exists, then be obedient."
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
And I think it's exactly what you just said.
Right.
But I mean, it's one thing to say, I believe in a hill called Mount Calvary. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to say, I'm going to step out into the unknown, where God has not spoken. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like Moses when he says, "I need a sign." And God says, "Okay, fine, Moses, I'll give you a sign. When you're done, when everything is finished, you're going to come back and worship me on this mountain."
Yeah.
There's your sign.
Yeah, you will do this later.
Right.
40 years later.
Yes. There's your sign.
That's amazing.
You don't get one today.
Yeah.
You get one in 40 years.
Or Abraham. "Hey, Abraham, you've lived in this place your whole life with these people your whole life. Go over here. I'm not going to tell you where to go, but I'll tell you where to stop."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So how do you walk through what, and it's funny, it's interesting because Jeremy basically said, I'm going to have to paraphrase this one. He said, I'm sick and tired of people saying explaining to me that God's ways would be full of common sense. Nowhere in Scripture does anyone follow the Lord and it makes sense at the time.
No, totally. Yeah,
right?
Much opposite.
It's a faith walk. Mm-hmm. That's what this is about, and that's what it sounds like to me. It is the absolute antithesis of what the American economy, the American mindset, the American dream, would think of as, hey, this is God calling me. It's always upward and onward, right?
Yeah.
How did you wrestle with that?
I think it's multifaceted, and I'm trying to articulate it where it doesn't sound like rambling, which is really hard for me. But
we've made peace with rambling on this show a long time ago.
That's good. So I came to that place then, like you said.
Yep.
So I never, when I was a youth minister, I never had a humongous youth group. I mean, I would have some Wednesday nights in some places I'd have 40, and other Wednesday nights I'd have 6. And I was fine with all of it.
Sure.
I came from a very large youth group as a teenager. We, at First Baptist Olney in Olney, Texas, we were one of the first, especially small towns, only 3,500 people. We were one of the first small towns to have a full-time youth minister. And because of that, you're at a 2A school that has 200 and some odd kids in the high school and 100 and some odd kids in the junior high.
Yep.
It wasn't anything for us to legitimately, I'm not throwing random numbers around, anything for us to have 50 to 100 kids on a Wednesday night.
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah.
I mean, and really to the point where if we had 40, we were like, God, what are we doing wrong?
Yeah. Did we do something? Did we make somebody mad?
Is everybody sick?
Yep.
What's going on? I came from a large youth group, but my youth minister, especially my in high school, he was very good about not playing that up like it mattered. Okay. There's nothing wrong with numbers. Acts uses numbers a lot.
Like census type.
Exactly.
Right. David and the census type of a thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, to say that your whole identity is based off this number, or your success is based off this parameter.
Yep.
So when I went out to youth ministry, I never really struggled with, oh my gosh, I'm just not getting the numbers I wanted. It just was, I didn't care, you know? I mean, I'm saying I didn't care. I did care, but it did not determine if I was doing my job or not, and I had especially right before I became a pastor, I served for 3.5 years at First Baptist Slayton, which is a difficult town because it's 70% Catholic and 70% Hispanic and 60% Catholic, or vice versa. Regardless, not a Baptist town. So the pastor there was really good about, hey, you're doing a great job, regardless if I had, 30 kids or if I had 10, on a Wednesday night. He didn't care as long as I'm discipling, as long as I'm being active, as long as I'm doing my job. And so when I became a pastor, numbers weren't the end all be all for me. Now, I say that to say I moved from a youth minister position where I had to basically recreate the youth ministry because the youth minister before kind of just bolted on the kids and left via text message.
Oh, that's
or email,
nice. Wow.
Not as before text messages. He left via email, and the kids were like devastated. So had to basically recreate that youth group.
How early aughts was that?
Yeah, right, yeah. So then I go to First Baptist, happy that church had just split, and I had to work to heal that church, especially within the community. Happy is like 600 people. I mean, people notice if a church splits.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure.
And so, I mean, that church wasn't large. I think the biggest we had 150 on an Easter one time. We had 100 several other times after I'd been there for a couple of years. And then, going to Graham, and as I mentioned earlier, that church is about to die just because it's aging out, and their last 2 pastors, great guys, but they got sick. And so they had to retire early due to illness.
Yep.
And so the church is devastated by that, and they hadn't reached out in forever. And so I had to work within that parameter. So another small church. Going to Valley Grove, it was like, this is a big church. I actually have staff.
Right.
Beyond a part-time secretary
Yep.
and a part-time youth and music guy. I actually have staff that are full-time. And so managing that was out of the ordinary for me. But the whole time I'm there, and while I'm happy to be there, and God worked wonders, while I was there, having the church come back from COVID, having baptisms and double-digit baptisms in years. something the church hadn't had in a long time, growing Sunday school to the points where it had never been before, and that's just God's handiwork. God used me while I was there. There were a couple of small rural churches near Stephenville that I kept asking, especially our missions ministers, like, do they need help with anything? Does this church need help with anything? Because they're working really hard to try to, is there anything can we go help them with VBS? Is there, just questions like that. And I kept my ear to the ground with the small rural church because I came from small rural churches.
Sure. Yeah.
And Graham it's a town of 8,000 people, but Bethel Baptist is a small church. Happy's a rural town, And so I just kind of had a passion for small rural communities.
Yeah.
And here I am in Stephenville, which town of 20,000 in my book is not a small town. I think that's a big town.
That's funny.
Coming from Alney and living in Happy.
Sure.
They have multi-lane roads.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
More than like 2
Yes.
stoplights. I mean,
Right.
geez.